In the last stream, we were working on setting up our automation for the advanced and elite technium ingots. And now that we have both of these up and running, and we have both advanced and elite technium coming in continuously, we have all the first three tiers of technium coming in, and we can now begin looking through quite a lot of the research, especially in basic, advanced, elite, and even a little bit in ultimate here, and we can just start unlocking kind of all of this stuff to give us a bunch of extra little quality of life things that are going to make our life so much easier going forward. So I think we can start in basic research. Here, we don't really have too much left to unlock. We could unlock the immersive aircraft mod, which unlocks the quadcopter, the gyrodyne, the airship, and the biplane. Not quite sure we're going to need those. I think we can probably safely move on to advanced tech, which is where we're really going to get some of the improvements for us. So we are on a new version of the pack, and one of the best things, in my opinion, that Ben has added to the pack in the latest update is the addition of these two quest lines right here. That is the research paper for No Hunger and the research paper for Speed. One of my complaints for a little while now has been that if we build a big base, we can't really move around that fast. We've just got the default walking speed, but Ben has listened and he's added the ability to unlock a speed research paper, which doesn't seem too difficult to make, and then once you have that, you can pick speed 1, speed 2, or speed 3, and so you can kind of pick how fast you want to go by unlocking that research. We've also got things like time in a bottle, which is going to make it easier for us to accelerate certain machines going forward and make things just that little bit faster, elevators, die ores, and building gadgets. Before we do any of this, I think the first thing we should do is unlock a better way of making tech books, because you'll see that a lot of these bits of research, especially this one here, which gives you the ability to turn off hunger entirely. This one requires 64 tech books. That's quite a large amount of tech books. We could make that, but if we wanted to make that with our current recipe, we'd have to use 64 basic technium ingots and then 8 stacks of bronze, which is doable, but is more expensive than it needs to be, especially because if we go to elite research here, there is a quest to unlock tech books too. This gives us a better recipe that uses advanced technium instead of basic technium and allows us to make more tech books at a time. So if we want to unlock that, we can go ahead and craft up the tech books 2 research paper, which seems fairly doable. I will craft up a few more of these blank research papers here because we're going to do a lot of research today. And we also do, of course, need some advanced technium. Right now, there's none in this drawer. That's because it's all sitting over in here. So I'm just going to take some out of there. You'll see it's also sitting in the framed 2x2 drawer there as well. That is fine. Let's do this. Boom. And while we're at it, there is also, after that, a Tech Book 3 recipe as well. And this is not too difficult. It requires 4 Elite Technium. We've got over a stack now of Elite Technium. You'll see it's backing up in here. Speaking of which, I should definitely do what I've done with my other hoppers and put in some junk like that, just to make sure that we don't end up with like 6 stacks of Elite Technium, because that's just going to delay how long it takes for us to actually start backing up on Advanced Technium, which is not ideal. But over here we can do this, and if we hand both of those in with some tech books, which again is going to be the tricky bit here, we should be able to unlock some higher tiers. So starting with Tech Books 2, we need the book, which we have, and then we need 16 tech books. Right now we have 8, and so we do need 8 more. Do we have enough bronze to make that happen? We do. Fantastic. So boom, boom. And now, if we look at the recipe for tech books, we have access to this second recipe, which is basically the same, but now uses advanced technium and gets us 4 times the number of tech books. Looking at the next unlock here, we need again 16. So this time around, we can just swap out the basic technium for the advanced technium. We can very quickly get 16 using substantially less bronze. And then here we can go ahead, hand in the tech books. And now we have yet again another new recipe. This one only gets us 7. I thought it was going to double up to 8, but we can use elite technium and bronze to get 7 at a time. And of course, we've got over a stack of elite technium over in our setup here, and so now getting tech books is going to be substantially easier and quicker. For example, if we wanted to get the full stack required to turn off the need for hunger, we could come over here, we could hand in that full 64, and then we just need 4 apples, 4 advanced technium, and a research paper. So hunger is what we're after. I think we have 4 apples. We totally do. Let's go boom, boom, and disable hunger. Boom. Look at that. So now, no longer do we have to carry these golden carrots around with us. No longer do we have to continually try and find potatoes to eat or cook. We don't have to worry about growing wheat to get bread. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We just have full hunger all the time. I love it. Next on my list is speed. I think the speed research book is going to be very helpful for us. Seems fairly straightforward. We might need to get some more sugarcane because we only have 3 here. That is fine. Of course, as per usual, leaves are going to get us cactus. Cactus will get us kelp. Kelp will get us bamboo, and bamboo will get us sugarcane, and sugarcane, of course, will get us sugar. I was going to craft a stack there, but that would be a mistake because we do need paper more than we need sugar. We do only need sugar to get the speed book, at which point we can hand in the book, and we need 32 tech books. Now, it's possible that we might actually now be out of bronze because we've probably worked through the backlog that was stored in here. Not quite. We do have a stack there still, but we can if we want to use the jumbo furnace to very quickly make a large amount of bronze. But for now, let's do this and this. And once we have at least 32, we can go ahead and hand those in. And now we get to pick. Let me start with speed 1. It does say disable hunger there when I hover over it, but I think that's just... I actually don't know what that is. Does that? They all say disable hunger. Okay. So speed 1 is a little fast. Okay. How's speed 2? Speed 2 is faster. I definitely prefer this. This is like a better speed, I think, in my book. But then again, speed 3 might also not be too bad. You know? I kind of like it. I am going to lower my FOV to kind of match the fact that we've got a higher speed now. But yeah, no, I dig this. This is going to make it a lot easier for us to get around our base in its entirety. I do keep thinking I'm going to have like jump boost enabled with them, but I don't. That's fine. But now getting from, you know, this request table to our other request table, or even all the way over to our other platforms, isn't going to take anywhere near as long, and it makes me more likely to want to build a larger base with more platforms that are kind of further afield going forward, which I think is good. Now that that's taken care of, we can probably look at finishing up some of these quests. So waystones are interesting. I don't think we need them. Essentially with the waystones, you can place down these waystones, and then whenever you right click on them, you can teleport to another waystone that you've put down. And it uses a little bit of experience normally, although that might have been tweaked in the configs, but usually, you know, you could have a waystone here, you right click it, and then if you had another waystone down, for example, all the way on the other side of the base, it would teleport you between those 2 waystones. Now, we could get that, we could unlock it and try and get those waystones, but at the same time, under Elite Research, there is the Tempad, which I think is kind of just a better version of it. You'll see, actually, interesting, you do have to unlock the waystones to get the Tempad. The Tempad lets you set predetermined locations, and then you can just use the Tempad, walk through a portal, and get teleported to that location. So it kind of does the same thing as a waystone, but without the need to actually have a physical waystone down. But it looks like we have to do both. And so, you know what? Let's have a look then. What do we need for the waystones? We need 4 iron plates and 4 redstone. We actually have that ready to go. And so if we do this, we just need to make those 4 blocks of redstone. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good stuff. That gets us the book. And then, did we need a lot of tech books? We did not. 8 is perfect. And then you can use 8 to actually buy the waystone. Usually the waystones are also craftable. Yeah, they do require the warp stone though, which requires ender pearls. Currently, we don't have access to ender pearls. I think the way that we get ender pearls is by using ender ore to make ender pearl fragments, and then you can craft ender pearl fragments into ender pearls. To make that happen, you do have to unlock the research for ender ore, which is probably something we'll do today, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we do that, let me see about getting some more tech books. Of course, thankfully the bronze is being made continuously, and let's use that to purchase some waystones here. I would like just the standard non-mossy waystones. These are pretty cool though. So if I were to throw one down, let's say all the way over here, just in the center of the island, like that, and we'll call this starter home. Done. And then all the way on the other side of the base, we could throw down another waystone, potentially by our big windmill here. Let's say we put it there, and we call this windmill crescent. Done. Now, whenever we right-click on this waystone, we can teleport to starter home. just like that. And we can do it again with more Crescent. Again, it does look like Ben has disabled the cost of experience. Sometimes with this Waystone mod, you do have to pay a little bit of experience to teleport. This time around, you do not, which is pretty nice, actually. This could potentially be a better choice than the Tempad, because we do have the space for it. And so I might just go ahead and throw down another Waystone up in Automation Central. So over here, we can throw down a Waystone like that, call it Automation Central, like that. And then now we can just teleport around the base. Much easier, even with the speed. You know, the speed kind of becomes irrelevant when you have access to instant teleportation like this. But I quite like it. And we've got one left here, so we can probably drop one maybe like here? Sure. We'll call this Conveyor Hell, because it is Conveyor Hell. We do have a slight problem, by the way, with our conveyor system at the minute. But let's not worry about that. We're going to come back to that later on in the episode. I do wonder if we can change the color of these. Like, I noticed we have these beacons coming off it. I wonder real quick, if I get some kind of dye, do we have any, like, dandelion yellows or poppies? We do have a poppy. Can I, like, dye the Waystone? I can't. That's fine. Anyway, so now that we have those ready to go, I just got to remember to use them to get around the base. Let's look at what else we have. The time in a bottle is going to be tremendously useful for us. To unlock this, we first have to get more tech books. Again, not a problem, and we should still have more elite technium coming in, and we've still got loads of it ready to go, so I'm not too worried about spending it on the tech books here. Let's do this. And then as for the research paper, it is just advanced technium around a blank research paper. Speaking of blank research papers, we do need to make yet more of those. 8 seems good for now. Boom. And we do, of course, need to grab yet more of the advanced technium to actually make this happen. Good stuff. And with that, we can unlock the time in a bottle. We are certainly going to have to craft the time in a bottle. Oh, never mind. We can just buy it. I assume we could craft it. And I think I might craft it, because I think this is actually cheaper than spending 32 tech books. We do have what it takes to make 32 tech books, but we also have what it takes to make a clock and 3 glass bottles, and that gets us everything, almost everything we need. The reason that didn't work is that the glass bottles, I think, are being taken instantly and sent elsewhere. Let's try that again. Boom. And we now have the time in a bottle. For those who don't know how this works, this will slowly accumulate time. It stores time as you hold it, so every second that we have it in our inventory, it holds seconds, and then later on down the line, you can spend that time to make other things in the game faster. For example, over here, we've got our induction smelter. It's making bronze at a fairly reasonable speed, but if we have enough time in our bottle, we can shift right-click on the induction smelter, and apparently we don't have enough time. We might need 30 seconds, like that, and now it's working faster than it did before. And that did use 30 seconds worth of time. You'll see it says total accumulated time is now 40 seconds, and stored time is only 10. That's because we spent 30 seconds to make this faster. But you can go further. You can keep shift right clicking if you have enough time. You can make it two times as fast, 4 times as fast, 8 times as fast, 16 times as fast. I think all the way up to 256 times as fast if you have a lot of time stored up in your time in a bottle. Chat is also pointing out we do seem to have hunger back on. Let me disable hunger again. Okay, that should work. I don't know if I accidentally turned that back on at some point. Let's also quickly eat a golden carrot to refill our hunger there. But now that's unlocked, we have elevators, which are going to be useful, actually. What do we need for elevators? We need 8 tech books, and we need some wool. I don't think we have any wool, but we do have the ability, I think, to make string using our hemp fiber. So we can take the hemp fiber, craft that into string, take the string, craft that into wool, and then we can take that wool and hopefully use that to craft the elevator research paper. I did think I had some advanced technium, but I think what's happening here again is that the advanced technium is being exported back to here, and so anytime I take advanced technium out of here, it just kind of gets sent back around to this drawer if we leave it in the system. That's fine though. Let's do this and this. We'll go ahead, hand you in over here, and then do we have 8? We do not have 8 tech books. That is completely fine, because now we can just make more. Boom. And boom. So the elevators are, again, another little small quality of life improvement here. Is there a quest to buy them? There isn't. That's fine. These are made using basic technium and white wool. How much white wool did we make? I think we made more than 8, right? We did, but we do need 16 if we're going to make this work. So let's go and... Are we out of hemp fiber? I really thought we had more. Are we out of string? We are out of string. Okay, in that case, one thing we should probably do, especially now that we no longer need actual food, is we should use our little teleporter here to go back to Windmill Crescent, and we should swap out the carrots for hemp seeds. These in the Garden Cloche are going to produce both industrial hemp fiber and hemp seeds, and so with those, we could probably do with a 2x1 drawer. This is a drawer that can hold 2 items. Oh, that's a frame drawer controller. That's my bad. I want the 1x2 drawer right here. This is the same as a 1x1 drawer or a 2x2 drawer, but it can hold 2 lots of items, and it can hold 1024 of each item by default. As per usual, we want to make sure this has some dark oak and some smooth stone, like that, and then we'll just go ahead and move this out of the way, plop this down right about there, and this is going to slowly but surely produce for us an unlimited amount of industrial hemp fiber and industrial hemp seeds. Now, I did before figure out in the last episode, there's a way to fix this. Oh, there we go, it's fixed. I guess moving it around a bit, sometimes it kind of fixes itself when you put it back down. I think also leaving and rejoining might fix it as well. Either way, one thing we could do here is take the 3 minutes that we have in our time in a bottle and use that to make this guy faster. I think you want to click on the bottom here to actually make it faster. That's the tricky bit with the multi-blocks. It's figuring out which part of the block you actually want to connect. Oh, the draw key is what people were telling me. Yes, of course. If you right-click with the draw key, it does fix the texture again. So if you move it and it's broken, you can just lock it and unlock it, or unlock it and lock it, and it will fix its texture. Thank you, chat. That is very helpful. But yeah, you'll see this is coming in quite fast. I think that's the right block. I don't think we right-click here. I think you right-click here with the time in a bottle. Either way, we've got some hemp there, and I will lock that for the future. I'll also, though, for now, grab some of those seeds, head back over to Starter Home, and here we can just use the shifting method to very quickly get a large amount of hemp, and that's going to make it just a little bit easier for us to get all of the wool required to actually get our first elevators up and running, which are going to be useful because I think we are almost certainly going to want to get a lower platform setup, or even a higher platform setup at some point fairly soon. Right now, it's quite difficult to do things like running cable, like running the simple storage network cable under the platform is a real pain in the backside. Having a lower platform beneath this one and beneath this one would be quite helpful, even if it was for nothing other than just like cable management. Once we've got a bunch more industrial hemp fiber, we can of course craft up even more string and then even more wool, and 16 wool is exactly the amount required to get started with elevators because it allows us to make exactly 2 elevators. And for those who know, the way this works is pretty straightforward. You can place down an elevator, you can then place another elevator anywhere above or below that elevator, and then from now on, if you jump whilst on the lower elevator, you get teleported to the higher elevator, and if you shift while on the higher elevator, you get teleported down to the lower elevator. And so we can put these really wherever we like. I don't think there's a limit to how far away they can go either. I think you can use these to teleport like up and down around the world. I guess we don't strictly need them. We could have also used waystones as a way to quickly teleport down to a lower platform as well. That could have also worked, but I do think the elevators are just that little bit easier to use in that you just walk over them and hit shift. You don't have to try and kind of quickly pass the list and figure out where it is you want to go, but it's really only a small difference. Either way, it wasn't too expensive to unlock. One of the things that we definitely should unlock, though, now that we've done most of what's available here, I've not done building gadgets. I don't know if we're going to need them, and I've not done the dye ore yet, because I also don't know if we need to purchase dyes either. But under Elite Tech, I think the first thing we should get is probably the Angel Ring. This is going to give us, effectively, Creative Mode Flight. And for that, we need 24 tech bucks. We also need 4 blocks of gold, 4 Elite Technium, and a paper. Okay, so gold blocks are not going to be a problem. We can just craft those with the gold that we have. We're doing quite well on all of our ingots, and I'm happy to report that we do have a ton of copper now after we upped the speed at which the copper was being made by adding those ruby capstones in the last episode. Once we have those gold blocks, that should then be everything for the Angel Ring info, and then from there we can go ahead and hand that in. Again, unfortunately, no easy way to get these. We do have to craft them manually, Now, to craft this, we need more blocks of gold. We also need some feathers, a blaze rod, a diamond ring, which is 4 blocks of diamond, and a diamond gear with more elite technium. Interesting. Okay, so the feathers are actually super easy. We can craft more string, and then we can craft that string into feathers, which is good. Most of the mob drops in the pack are craftable, so we'll take both of those. As we saw before, the blaze rods can be made by using 5 blaze powder and a metal rod mold. We actually don't have this just yet in a metal press, and blaze powder can be made by pulverizing these flux coils. So we need 5 flux coils. We then need to pulverize those over here. Once those are turned into blaze powder, we then need the rod, and I could have used my waystones here, but I didn't. Over here, we need the blueprint for molds, which we should have in the system. We do indeed. And then if we want to make the rod mold, this one right here, we need 3 steel plates and the engineer's wire cutters. The wire cutters we have, and steel plates we also have. Fantastic. Boom, and boom, and boom. Just like before, we can head back over to Windmill Crescent now. We just swap out the plate mold for the rod mold, and then if we have our 5 blaze powder, we can just throw all of that into this hopper, and that should all get compacted down into 1 blaze rod. Nice. And with that, the thing we're missing now is just the diamond ring. How many diamonds do we have? We've got 50 diamonds, actually. I did not think we had that many. That is actually completely fine then, because we can take 4 diamonds out of here, drop that into the hopper once we swap out the rod mold for the gear mold, like so, and that should be everything. We've got the 4 blocks of diamond. We're about to get the diamond gear. That's going to allow us to make the diamond ring, and that should in turn allow us to make the angel ring. We just need 1 elite technium, which we do have. It is just over in Automation Central. So let's take 1 of you, and then let's do this. Nice. So now this does have a slot associated with it. So if an item says slot and then a slot name, that basically means we can put it in one of these slots here. There's a little button next to our head, and this can go in the angel ring slot, which is this one right here, just the ring slot, I guess. You can also put your time in a bottle in a slot as well, like that. I guess there is a time in a bottle slot. Interesting. I don't know if there's much point in putting it in that slot, because then it's kind of hard to use. So I prefer to just have it in my inventory, but if you wanted it out of your inventory, just kind of passively gaining time until you need it, you could throw it in one of those slots as well. But now, look at that. We have full creative mode flight, which again kind of gets rid of the need for elevators, because now we could just fly down to lower platforms, and we can also just lay cables more easily as well. But I do think that having lower platforms is going to be useful, and it looks like we don't really get much of a speed boost with flight. We might get a little bit of a speed boost. We might be flying a little bit faster than you normally do, but it doesn't seem super fast. Either way, now that we have angel rings, the other stuff here that we probably want to unlock, Ender Ore is definitely one of them. That's going to give us access to Ender Pearls, but I think the next big one really is going to be Flux Networks. For Flux Networks, we need, you guessed it, yet more tech books, which of course do require yet more elite technium. We're still at over a stack. That is good to see. Let's go ahead and craft up just a bunch more of those. Fantastic. A stack is good for now. And then let's do this. And then what do we need for the paper? Okay, so for the paper, we do need 4 ender pearls. And I kind of foresaw this coming, because I had a feeling that for the Flux Networks mod, you normally do need a fair number of ender pearls. And so before we can get into Flux Networks, we're going to have to first unlock the Ender Ore. Tech book-wise, that's not a problem. And then research book-wise, it's really also not a problem. Ender Ore. We have gold blocks. We'll make 4 of those again. And we have the elite technium. Boom. And boom. And so now we should be able to purchase Ender Ore, I think, from the shop. I don't know if it's craftable. I don't think it's craftable. It's not, but we can set up a miner for it once we bought some. That gets us 36, which, how many ender pearls is that? I don't think it's many, unfortunately, because 36 gets us 18 fragments, which is only 2 ender pearls, which is really not a lot. And so we are going to have to get more miners down. Of course, we still need to put down the miners for diamonds and emeralds. We also need to put down the diamonds now for Ender Ore. And going forward, once we start with Mechanism, which is kind of the next thing we're going to be working on, there's osmium that needs to be added, and then there's also uranium that needs to be added as well once we start with power. So we do have quite a few more of these that need to be taken care of, and so we kind of just need to figure out where we're going to put those. Okay, so I think we're going to build a lower level platform for yet more miners. The trouble that we currently have is that we don't have any more smooth stone. Ever since we set up automation for all 3 of the first tiers of Technium, we have just burned through our smooth stone setup, and we also have a slight problem here with ores backing up. We do need to make changes to fix that. However, in the interest of procrastination, I think what I'm going to do for the time being is put just like a band-aid on the problem. If we do something like this, and we go ahead and just upgrade this chest here from wood to iron, from iron to gold, and from gold to diamond, that should allow it to hold all of the excess ores that are sitting here. It should kind of get rid of the spewage problem. But essentially what I'm thinking of doing, we do need to fix this, but the way that we're going to fix it, I think, is kind of by getting rid of the conveyor belts and replacing them with either XNet or Laser.io. I think one of these 2 mods is going to be a substantially better way of moving all of our resources around. And so I don't really think there's much, like, there are things we could do to our conveyor belt system to make it work here, but it would be a messy, janky system that is going to be used for like 1 or 2 more episodes until we swap things out. For the time being, what I think we're going to do, we'll hold off on building the new platform until later. People have pointed out that we don't really need gravel at the minute. We have 2048 gravel here, but we're not actively using it. And so I think what I might do for the time being is move this gravel drawer kind of down here. I will reset up the gravel miner, I think, once we have our lower level set up. But for the time being, I think we can probably just get rid of the gravel here, replace that gravel with the new ender ore, and then cap this, ideally, with... Please don't break into shards, thank you. And then cap this with the best caps that we have, which are currently Signalum caps, which should be probably doable. I'd have to go check and see how much Signalum we have, but we are making... Really, I can't place these down. Wait, can I place these down? Do I have to shift to place these down? I do have to shift to place these down. Interesting. We should have Signalum because we have it over here being made. However, it looks like it's our limiting factor, which does make sense. I think it is kind of the slowest thing to be made. It's also one of the only machines over here that doesn't have an integral component. Between streams, I did go around and add more integral components to quite a lot of the stuff over here. So a lot of these dynamos now have integral components. Quite a lot of the machines do also now have integral components. I kind of just missed one, I guess, when it comes to the Signalum setup, which is not ideal because the Signalum is already kind of the slowest setup that we have. I am going to try and just steal glass from here. Fantastic. That gets us what we need for our integral component, and then I'll throw that in here just to make it a little bit faster. For the time being, though, even though the Signalum is fastest at 40 ticks, which is 2 seconds, the Ruby blocks here are 50 ticks, so 2.5 seconds. They're really not too much worse. So let's go ahead and swap out these coal blocks. Also, do we have 3 diamonds left over? We do. I think I'm going to just get a diamond pickaxe as well real quick, just because I think it's going to be faster than using the Prospector's pick. Maybe, although maybe the Prospector's pick, I know the Prospector's pick can mine at a diamond level, but I don't know if it actually has diamond speed as well, but it might do, to be honest. Let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then let's quickly grab another storage drawer to throw down on our miner. I am wanting to slowly replace all of our storage drawers with these custom storage drawers that look nicer. Right now, a lot of our miner setup is using like old wooden storage drawers or even chests in some scenarios, which is not ideal. But I think going forward, we will try and replace them with the nicer looking drawers like this. And of course, one thing we are going to have to do here is get a higher tier frame. I have a sneaking suspicion that we might need more diamonds here because I think this is going to require a higher tier than we currently have. Oh, never mind. It only needs tier 5 support frame. I really thought Ben was going to require tier 7 support frame for the ender ore there. Thankfully, he did not, and so we just need to get a bunch of this iron support frame, which is probably one of the easiest support frames for us to make at this point in time. We can then do a quick replace on the tier 4 support frame, and there we go. We have the ender ore coming in with the tier 5 support frame, and I assume that what we could do here, we've got 7, 8, 9. So everyone, it's coming in every 2.5 seconds. I assume that we could do this. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Look at that, 18, 19, 20. So it comes in a lot faster if you accelerate there. You'll see we've got 24 minutes now stocked up in our bottle, and we can go quite aggressive here on speeding up the production of Ender Ore. We've got over a stack, and it's coming in nice and quick. Again, remember, 36 would have only gotten us 2 Ender Pearls, and so even with the 120 that we have here, that's like not that many Ender Pearls in the grand scheme of things. So we do need a lot of this Ender Ore, and it looks like, unless there's something that I'm missing, like there might be an unlock later on, like maybe a mechanism machine that gets us more efficiency, but even with the pulverizer, it's still 2 to 1, so we need a lot of these to get any Ender Pearls at all. Thankfully, though, we do have pulverizers, and so we can just start throwing these in and turning them into Ender Shards. Then we can just craft those Ender Shards into Ender Pearls. So let's do this and this. You'll see it doesn't last forever, obviously. Your time limited. I think you might get like 30 seconds of increased speed when you use the time in the bottle, so it's really just a short burst of extra stuff. How's this doing? This is fine, maybe? Like, it's not looking great, but we're gonna fix that in the future. For now, let's see, how are you doing? This is doing pretty well. Let's go and see how many Ender Pearls we can craft with these Ender Pearl fragments. We have got 9 Ender Pearls. Okay, the good news is that is enough for us to unlock the Flux Networks research paper. We just need more Elite Technium, which is over here. And boom. We probably also need some cash, but we've already handed in the cash. Perfect. And now Flux Networks is available. And Flux Networks is a cool mod because it's going to allow us to wirelessly transfer power around our base. Essentially, the way that it works is there are flux plugs, which you can kind of see here. It's a little bit covered up by the stuff in the top left, but we have flux plugs and we have flux points. You can place a flux plug onto a block that either stores energy or produces energy. So you could put it down onto a dynamo, for example, or you could put it down onto something like an energy cube that's storing power for you. And then you have a flux point. This goes down onto wherever you want to send that energy. And essentially, you can just have all of your energy being created in one place. You can have a flux plug pull that energy from the centralized location, and then you can just put flux points on the machines that you want to give power to, and that power will be wirelessly transferred from the flux plug to the flux points. And in theory, that would allow us to kind of get rid of this haphazard array of lapidary dynamos that we have dotted around the base currently. Now, to get started with this, we're going to need quite a lot of these flux cores, which require flux dust, obsidian, and eyes of ender. So the eyes of ender are not too bad. They do require ender pearls, which are a little tricky to get, and they do require blaze powder, which is also a little tricky to get, although not impossible. Obsidian we have, and then flux dust in this pack we can make by crafting redstone around obsidian. You can also do this, and you can turn one redstone into one flux dust once we have at least one flux block, because we don't, of course, have access to bedrock. But this is probably fine, actually. We've got a ton of redstone and a fairly decent amount. We've got 300 obsidian. So I'm going to go ahead and make like a stack of flux dust here, and then let's see if we can't make some of this stuff happen. Let me go ahead and get maybe like a stack of flux coils, and then let's throw those into the pulverizer to get a stack of blaze powder. I'll do half in here and half in here just to make it that little bit faster. That should be everything we need to start making some eyes of ender. We're going to need at least a few of these, and then from there we should be able to make some flux cores. Again, we're going to need quite a few of those, and then the flux block here is 4 flux cores and 5 flux dust for a flux block. The flux block with 4 more flux cores gets you a flux plug, and then as for the flux point, it is just a block of redstone. I'll make a stack of those along with 4 flux cores. Nice. And so, as I mentioned a second ago, the idea here is that we can centralize our power production. Now, right now, all of our power is just being generated by lapidary dynamos. I think that is very likely to change in the not-so-distant future. Once we unlock power down here, I think it's quite possible that we work down towards something like a reactor to get a lot more power than we're currently producing. But just to kind of show off how this works, let's see if we can't centralize some of our power here. For example, right now we've got 3 lapidary dynamos here going into this little network of flux ducts. Let's say that we put a flux plug right here. That is now going to be able to pull power from this flux duct and therefore from this lapidary dynamo little setup. And so what we'll do is we'll put one of those there, and we'll put the other one, the flux point, we'll put that down, let's say, here instead. Instead of having a dynamo there, that would allow us to get rid of this and just send power from here round to here. The reason this is useful is because this one lapidary dynamo was producing too much power for this bottling machine, whereas over here, at times we have been running into power issues. Right now it seems to be doing okay, but we can now move this over to here, and anytime that there is kind of excess power that would have just been sitting in this lapidary dynamo when it was over here, that power can now be used to power other things that actually need that power. So let's do this and ideally this to get the lapis out of my inventory. So what we want to do to connect these up is inside of either the flux plug or the flux point, you want to click Create New Network in the top right. You can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call it Lappy Power, and we'll make it blue. And you do need a password, but you don't have to. You never need to type this password in again, so I'm not quite sure why it's needed. I think it's for other people to access your network, but create. And so now, in here, you just want to click Lappy Power to set this to Lappy Power. You'll know it's worked when it goes the color that you set. And then in the flux point, again, click this empty box at the top, click Lappy Power, and now this is also connected to Lappy Power. And you'll see that the bottling machine is now full on power because the power is being sent from this flux plug round and into this flux point. And at this point now, we can use the Lappy Power network to send Lappy Power anywhere that we like. We are going to need some more Eyes of Ender and also some more Ender Pearls, but if we get more flux cores, we can then make more of these flux points, and it's not like a one-to-one ratio, right? You don't have to have one flux plug for every one flux point. You can connect multiple flux points to one flux plug. For example, over here, we could get rid of these two lapidary dynamos. We could throw down a flux point right about here, set it to Lappy Power, and now these flux ducts are going to get power from the dynamos in the back. And again, we can get rid of you, and we can just move the lapidary dynamos as soon as we make some space in our inventory for these exporters. We can move these over to here. We can put down one, let's say right about there, make sure it's facing the right way, drop down an export cable, make sure it's receiving some lapis. And for now, I don't think we need that other lapidary dynamo. We have an extra spare one, but if we check over here, these machines are all full on power. You're empty on sand, which makes me think that we probably just don't have enough sand. We don't. That, thankfully, is fixable, especially given that we just upgraded the machine next to it with ruby capstones. In doing so, we will have slowed down the sand, because by giving this a mismatch of capstones, we do default it back down to 220 ticks, which is not ideal, but if we do, of course, this and this, we should now be getting sand faster than ever, which should keep the glass coming in, which should keep our system running as intended. Okay, so the Twitch chat is telling me that I need to enable hunger, not disable it. Enable your hunger, start eating again. That's not what it says, but let me try it. Okay, I don't know if Ben's just got those the wrong way around, because it says enable hunger, start eating again, but you have to click that one to get your hunger to be full, unless it means start eating again as in the pancake is going to feed me? I don't know. Anyway, I did notice that we were low on hunger again, but now it's back up to full, which is good to see. So you want to make sure you click enable hunger and not disable hunger, despite the counterintuitiveness of that. Back over in the Elite Research questline, I do want to unlock the XNet and LaserIO research papers here, because as I mentioned before, these are going to be incredibly useful, especially when it comes to moving items around. Right now, we don't really have a good way of moving items around outside, and also I do need that, outside of like our simple storage network, which is okay, but not ideal. We don't have, any kind of item conduits or item ducts or anything like that, and that's where XNet and LaserIO are going to come into play. They're going to make it a lot easier for us to move items around, which is also going to make it a lot easier for us to deal with stuff like this, where we've got a lot of different resources that need to go to specific locations, and using XNet and LaserIO, we're going to be able to sort this and get things to where they need to go in a much cleaner, much easier, and much less prone to spewing way, which I think is definitely something we should work towards sooner rather than later. Thankfully, both of these just require some basic resources and some tech books, and now we have access to XNet over here and LaserIO. over here. I don't think we'll do any of those today. We'll come back and we'll look at fixing this up. But now that we have those unlocked, the only thing we've not unlocked in the Elite questline is the Tempad, which I no longer think we really need. We might look at getting that if we ever have to go to any different dimensions, but for the time being, I think the Waystones, now that we actually have them, the fact that we needed them before we can actually get the Tempad, I feel like the Waystones do the job just fine, even though the Tempad is technically better. And then there's also Niter as well, which I also don't think we really need. Before we were using Niter to get Rubies, Peridot, and Sapphire, but now that we have those fully automated with the miners here, I don't think we need to unlock Niter. And so I think with that, I've kind of unlocked basically all the research that I want to unlock. Building gadgets could be useful. We might end up looking at using that potentially. Building gadgets is quite useful if you want to duplicate complex structures. So if we wanted to copy this platform, it could be useful. But then again, the fact that it's got all of its stuff inside of it makes it a little less useful, I think. In terms of copying like this this level to a lower level, we could do it, but for the most part, the building wand makes light work of putting down a lot of brick-bordered smooth stone, so I really don't think we're going to need building gadgets for that, but we could unlock it in the future if it seems necessary, and yeah, I don't think we need the Tempad, I don't think we need Niter, and there's nothing else we can unlock in Ultimate yet, because all of the rest of these do require Ultimate Technium ingots, and so I think that's kind of the next thing that we're going to work on, probably, in the next episode, is beginning our journey through Mechanism. We're going to get the osmium ore and then unlock the Mechanism research paper here, which seems pretty doable. Between streams, I will go ahead and create the other platform. Are we getting more smooth stone again is my question. I did increase the cap stones on the stone to ruby to get stone faster. We still don't have much in the way of smooth stone though. It's coming in real slow. The problem with that is the problem that is kind of plaguing everything here, and that is that I think a lot of our stone is just getting caught up in this diamond chest, which is not ideal whatsoever, but it's probably not too bad, simply due to the fact that we could just do this if we wanted to accelerate the smooth stone production, and so getting smooth stone to build into the platform lower down here shouldn't be too bad. Next time, though, we'll definitely come back and we'll look initially, first and foremost, at fixing this. We'll look at swapping this out and probably getting rid of the belts, which is unfortunate because I do like the way the belts look. We don't necessarily have to get rid of the belts. We could just kind of replace the system underneath, because the current main problem, by the way, is this one extractor. The extractor here only pulls one ore out at a time. It doesn't have the capability of pulling like a full stack of ores out, and so one ore at a time gets pulled out, but you'll see here that ores are going into this hopper way faster than they're getting pulled out by this extractor, and that creates this backlog scenario. I think the same is true kind of down here as well. I noticed that this was filling up and we got loads more stone there, which I'm going to go and throw in over here. But the trouble here that we're having as well is that way more ores are going in than are coming out, and so we're starting to back up on this, despite the fact that our induction smelters are not always full. Like, they've kind of got times where they're a little empty, which is not ideal. And again, the belts are not the best scenario for this. There are better ways with either XNet or LaserIO that we can get items into the induction smelters and pulverizers and make sure that they're being used as efficiently as possible. But we do also have the option of keeping some of the belts kind of just for aesthetic reasons if we want, because they look nice, which I think they do. But anyway, over here we got loads of smooth stone. Fantastic. We can begin changing that out in the Mason's table for the brick bordered smooth stone, and then we can start using that to build our lower platform on the bottom level of the base, which is going to make room for more miners. And yeah, next time we'll come back, we'll get the diamond miner, we'll get the emerald miner, we will get the osmium miner, and then, of course, we'll look at that uranium miner as well. With power, we'll look at moving on and unlocking the reactors potentially to get even more power, using power, and, of course, we'll look then at moving on to the ultimate technium ingots, which don't seem too bad. We need uranium sheet metal, that's just the same as lead and the same as aluminum, easy enough. We need dielectric paste, which we've not unlocked the recipe for yet. The atomic alloys are probably fine. They do require infused crystalline, which is also something that's required for the ultimate technium. This doesn't seem too bad either, though. Once we have diamonds and emeralds automated, the crystalline dust is not too difficult. We are going to have to set up a miner for crystal ore, but again, that is completely fine. And yeah, I don't think ultimate technium is going to be too bad. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Techopolis 2 there.